One of the most important messages at Beat the Reset is to learn how to invest and, more importantly, learn how to diversify. This is critical, especially faced with the enormous system changes that we are about to encounter. We are sitting right on a reset at the moment. A lot of people have asked me, when is it going to happen? How soon? What do you think? How bad is it going to be? Etc., etc. One thing we know is that the system will reset. It always does. I speak about 6 resets in my book, The Great Asset Shift, since 1819. They didn't used to be called resets, by the way. They used to be called the Great Panics. That's essentially what they were called, panics. That all changed. In fact, the first 5 of those Great Panics were labelled in that way, and right up until the Great Depression, which was a 10-year monetary depression, essentially, which affected the entire planet, predominantly the Western world, and of course the United States went into depression for 10 years. It was the longest of the depressions. But the point of Beat the Reset is to help people understand that there is a critical need to not get bogged down in entertainment and sideshows, but to take decisive and definitive action using something called discernment. On my channel, whenever I put up mainstream articles, I seem to attract people that what they want to do is, instead of diversifying and investing, they seem to want to argue with each other about moot points or things that are really kind of irrelevant. And I think the message that really needs to come across here is that as a BTR person or somebody that is following this channel and really seriously looking for change, then you must affect change, and you must do it sooner rather than later. It really doesn't matter if the reset happens today or tomorrow. What matters is that you're in position and able to deal with it. The critical point here is one of investment and diversification, as I've mentioned several times already. And what I mean by that is investment in every possible way: education, knowledge, health, family, love, all the important things in this world. But when it comes to diversification, what I mean here is that we need to understand that merely doing things the way we used to do them will not work through this reset. Understanding that we are moving towards a tokenized system. Now, most of the middle class are not going to understand what that means until it has happened. But what I want for people on Beat the Reset is we understand what it is before it happens. But the point of that is to get into position by understanding that it's okay to have regime change, and it's okay to go through resets. And you would rather go through a reset prepared and having something to trade than, holding your torch and pitchfork and railing on the steps of Parliament House and protesting in defiance of governmental tyranny. Yes, there is tyranny. Yes, there is dystopia. Yes, there are rigged elections, and there are all sorts of questionable pandemics and wars. But the truth is, how does that affect you and I? How does that affect your family on the ground? Are you able to put food on the table? That's the big question. So we can easily get sidetracked, and we can easily get bogged down in warring with each other over various words. Stop worrying about ownership of property. Stop worrying about whether it's going to be taken or it isn't, because it's constitutionally able to be taken. We understand all of this. We've been going through this forever. Yes, if you want to know, can your government take your stuff? Yes. Could you lose securities and titles under UCC Article 9? Potentially, yes, you could. So because you know that, you are not going to allow your family to be caught in this. What you're going to do is you're going to diversify. Rather than spending your energies fighting your fellow man over the most insignificant things, what may be more advisable is that we get into position. So learn as much as you can about the digital systems, the incoming CBDC, central bank digital currencies. understand there is a digital twin system that has been built. I had somebody write to me saying, can you stop saying that the digital twin city has been built? Well, I can't stop saying that because it has been built. It was built in the October of 2022, and it started in my very own city, Melbourne, in the state of Victoria, Australia. So no, I can't retract that statement because that is an accurate statement. The healthcare system is moving towards digital twin. Understand that. Understand that with tokenisation, you're going to have to know how these assets work. You're going to have to know how blockchains work. You're going to have to understand what it's like to buy and sell and trade digital assets. That is how you will survive in this new world. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to grab your torch and pitchforks and you're going to go to the steps of the Parliament and you're going to rail against the system that just took everything from you. What is far better, rather than railing against the corporation that did this to you, is use their system to benefit you and your family. In other words, play the game. The game can be won or it can be lost, and the middle classes continually lose. All I'm saying is stop losing. Start winning this by making great choices, by taking decisive action, by being discerning. In other words, using historical evidence, basing it on what's about to happen, or at least what we believe is about to happen, and then take action. That's how you win this. Otherwise, you go down with the ship, and 70% of the middle class is wiped out in nearly every reset, and this one will be no different, and I don't want people on Beat the Reset going down with the ship. So it's really, really easy. What you do is you get yourself an exchange, and you start learning how to buy and sell and trade digital assets. You start looking into tokenization. It's not that hard. Every single person is holding a library. The biggest library in the world is in your hands. All you got to do is type in tokenization, and you can watch a few videos on it, understand what it is. This is where we're going. We come into this planet with nothing and we leave with nothing. But what we have is the ability to have a great life and the ability to be able to affect change with our own lives and families. The ability to be able to have something of value that we can trade. This is what I want for you and your families. That's all Beat the Reset wants through the diversification into physical monetary commodities, physical gold and silver. The idea that you're going to hold physical cash within your possession instead of putting it in the coffers of a commercial bank that runs a fractional reserve lending cartel operation. And of course, diversifying into digital assets, which is where this is all going. You can bury your head in the sand if you want to. You may be speaking to people at your workplace who say, nah, that's never going to happen. You may be speaking to a partner, a husband or a wife that just does not see it, or a family member or a friend. There will be people in your circle who think this is just completely conspiracy theory and is never going to happen. But the truth is, it has happened already. We are already there. And all I want for everybody on this channel is to be part of the biggest wealth shift in human history. And the only way you can do that is if you get ahead of the curve. If you are riding on the back of this, then you go down with the ship. You lose your assets, your fiat currency gets debased, you end up in central bank digital currencies which are fully programmable, and you have an inability to make choices. And the inability to make choices means you lose your freedom. And all I'm trying to do on Beat the Reset is give you that freedom, getting you prepared mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. That's what this is about. It's going to be a war. It's going to be a tough gig ahead. But if you get ahead of that curve, you can win this, and you can win this in a big, big way. If you want to do what the elites do, copy them. That's all you've got to do. And my pledge at Beat the Reset is to continually bring you well-researched information and knowledge that you can use practically to improve your positions. If you choose to do nothing, then you are in the 70%. If you choose to do something, then you will improve your position dramatically. And why wouldn't you do that? If you do nothing else, remember, invest and diversify, and as always, make good choices.